is directed by Aneesh Chaganty, who co-wrote and directed Searching, co-writes and directs this movie as well. A homeschooled teenager begins to suspect her mother is keeping a dark secret from her. That's all I'm going to say about the movie. Aneesh Chaganty is one of the more up-and-coming filmmakers. He's one of the more unique filmmakers. If you have not seen Searching, please watch Searching. It is undeniably a great movie. It is one of my favorite movies of 2018, and unfortunately I didn't see it until last year, but I wish I had seen it in 2018 because it was something unique and very promising from a very young filmmaker. So I was really excited to see where Aneesh Chaganty was going to go with his second feature. This was originally supposed to be released in theaters. Obviously that is no longer an option, so Hulu picked up the option for this movie, and for the most part I enjoyed Run. I think it's a somewhat solid follow-up to Searching. It's nowhere near as good as Searching. The second act of the movie is by far the most intriguing part of the movie, and it's where the movie, from then on to the end of the movie, becomes brisk and fast-paced. It delved more into the mystery and what our main character, Chloe, who is played magnificently by Kira Allen, newcomer. Hope she gets recognized with this movie because she was fantastic in this movie. Goes into a lot of what she's investigating, and I actually really love her character in this movie as well because her character has a fierce sense of determination and desperation. She's out to know the truth, and she's trying to do it all while being paralyzed. One of my favorite female characters of the year. Starting to learn about what this mystery is presents a puzzle that I wasn't really expecting the movie to present, especially since the first 30 minutes, while good, are a little bit slow. Not gonna say it took me a little bit to get into the movie, but it took me until that second act to really get hooked into the movie. When it came to the first act, those first 30 or so minutes, I was watching it. It's a more slow-paced movie in those parts, and there were times where I was just like, oh shit. This is going to be one of those movies that's just slow for the whole thing, and then something big happens at the end, and that's the only thing that happens. It's going to feel like nothing happens in the movie. That's clearly not the case here. But I found myself more invested once it got past that first 30 or so minutes. But again, those first 30 or so minutes weren't terrible. They were really setting up the characters. They were really trying to set up that second act as well. So I commend the first act of the movie for that. Sarah Paulson is also really good in the movie as well. Everything I've seen her in, I've always had to commend her in, and she plays batshit psycho very well. As I said, this movie is nowhere near as good as Searching, and unfortunately in some parts of this movie, it was starting to lose me. I feel like there were instances where the movie was raising more questions than it was providing answers, which can be a good thing, but I feel like I didn't get any, or I got very few answers, and the few answers that I got, I just had to kind of play in my head for a minute, because I was like, okay, is that logical? Does that make all the sense in the world? And there's a reveal that happens with Sarah Paulson's character where I was like, what? Like, seriously? Like, how is that possible? How can that happen? I understand that in movies you have to suspend your disbelief, but when it comes to things like this reveal, there's sometimes it just goes over my head and I can't suspend my disbelief. I have to question its logic and its realism, and that's what I did with that instance in the movie, and it raised some more questions that I had about Sarah Paulson's character, and I never felt satisfied as the viewer, because I never felt like I fully got the answers that I wanted. And the ending for the movie I felt killed a lot of momentum that the second act of the movie had. Not to say that the third act is terrible, I just feel that it didn't go in the direction that I thought it would. And for me, while it still was a fast-paced movie in those times, it just lacked the energy that the second act of the movie had. I think this is definitely Aneesh Chaganty falling into a sophomore slump. Ari Aster kind of did it with Midsummer, where it wasn't as good as Hereditary. And honestly, I think when you have new and upcoming directors like this, and you hold their first film in such high regard, I think it's kind of a bad idea to expect as good of a film in their second attempt as the first one was. Because I was a little bit let down by Midsummer. I was let down in a way by this movie, and this is a movie that for the majority of it, I was hooked because the sense of mystery and the character of Chloe just had that sense of mystery and desperation and determination. But I feel like the ending didn't have a good payoff, and the movie just raised more questions than it did answers. And for me, I was left slightly unsatisfied with this movie. Didn't hate it. I don't think it's a terrible movie, but it is nowhere near as good as Searching. I'm definitely giving it a positive score, but it might be one of those movies that I just have to watch again and try and pick up on more and more clues as it's going on and see if some of that movie logic doesn't bother me the second time around as it did this time around. So I'll have to figure that out. I'll say you will enjoy Run if you have 3/4 worth of a bucket of popcorn. Again, not as good as Searching, but that's just me. People might think it's better. People might not think it's better. People might be kind of like right in the middle. I'm like right in the middle to positive. Guys, what did you think of Run? It's on Hulu right now. Definitely check it out. If you really like Searching, I would say definitely check this out. It's the same filmmaker. So if you have seen Run, drop me some feedback as to what you thought about Run in the comment section below. I'll leave my link to my website in the description below as well. You guys are the best. Thank you for watching. My name is Alex Madden, and I'll see you at the movies somewhere.